Hey folks, it's PatriotNurse, and in today's segment I'm here again with Maine Prepper.
Hi.
And we're going to be discussing today viewer questions, frequently asked questions. And the question that we're going to be covering right now is, what do you think will set off WROL, or without rule of law? Take it away, Maine Prepper. What do you think?
Well, clearly many of you that have watched my videos know that I think it's going to be an economic situation, an economic crash. I see our markets, our bankers, and our Wall Street investors or gamblers and political ruling class gambling, if you will, with everyone's resources out there, and they're gambling with our futures. They have our pension funds now. They're getting their hands on more and more of the market and more of the economy, getting into the hands of fewer and fewer people who are not being held accountable. The regulatory agencies that are supposed to rein this in have been bought off. They have bribed politicians, these banks and everyone else have. They've bribed the politicians with campaign contributions. And if you don't believe me, go look at opensecrets.org and follow the money. And they have to disclose, politicians do, who gave them money. And ask yourself why Goldman Sachs would give $1 million to Barack Obama, if not to buy something. And believe me, they don't give him $1 million to get $1 million worth of favors. They expect a tenfold return or more on their investment. And that's exactly what it is to them. They're investing in this person who is going to give them favors. And the favors they get are favorable regulators. Many of the regulators, in fact, used to work for Goldman Sachs or other companies. And so you've got Goldman Sachs essentially regulating itself. Well, folks, that's like asking the people that are running, or the prisoners, the convicts in a prison, to guard themselves. Sorry, but they're not going to do a very fair job on that. They're going to be doing something that's going to favor them.
So you're saying that probably a financial collapse would be the flashpoint for it. Okay. I think I'm definitely concerned about that too. Something else that has me kind of thinking is a pandemic, because a pandemic, number one, we're long overdue for it, especially given the growth in our human population worldwide, which I'm a fan of. I like humans. I'm not about eugenics. What is it?
Sterilization.
There we go. Something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manufacture now in here after a long day and not enough coffee. Okay. Yes. So I'm not a eugenicist. I do like humans, but the fact is that a pandemic is long overdue, and a pandemic sets off this sort of cascade, this multi-layered disaster cake of things that can happen. The grid gets very, very taxed. People don't go into work, especially in the utilities, the major facilities. The police department is very, very taxed. When the police are taxed, then their response time is going to be decreased, and people forget that an ambulance cannot show up. EMS does not render care, especially to a scene of violence, mind you, unless it has been first the scene has been declared safe by the police department. So the whole dealing with traumatic injuries, gunshot wounds, all of that stuff, that starts developing into a cascade of violence.
Yes.
Yeah, domino effect for sure. So that's certainly part of it. The pandemic too, it's not really something that you can actively plan against. Without getting and splitting hairs too much, I'm not a fan of a lot of the work within the vaccination programs from the CDC, period, case closed. But it's coming. It's coming,
yes.
And it's just a matter of time. So for me, being a nurse, it's like, okay, this is forefront. This could very easily set off a cascade of things that would lead to a breakdown in the rule of law, for sure.
And I've seen being deployed overseas many times in disaster areas and everything else. Disease kills more people than bullets.
Absolutely.
And once disease gets a foothold, it starts to spread exponentially, and it reaches a tipping point. And that's why it's incumbent upon you that you may not be able to have all the medicine that you would need to prevent this from happening, but the way that you can sustain your life as long as possible is to avoid going out in public when you have a pandemic or something else ripping through town. And that means you're going to have to quarantine yourself.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you are dependent upon the infrastructure for your food and your water to the point where you've got less than a week's worth of food and water in your house.
Yeah.
Ideally, my goal for everyone, including myself, is to have 3 months minimum of everything you need so that you literally could close the front door on your house and never go outside for 3 full months. Once you can do that, you are fully prepared to cover down on most of these pandemics that may come sweeping our way, I believe. Would that be reasonable, do you think?
Yep, hold on. We're getting too dark. I need to go get the...
Okay.
We changed locations. Sorry, guys. It got too dark outside, so we came in. But we're going to continue where we left off, which was...
We were talking about pandemics and also about what we think WROL is going to be kicked off by. And my suggestion has always been to have at least 3 months of everything you need so that you can literally keep the doors on your house closed and you don't have to go outside. Going outside during any disaster is a bad idea because you're exposing yourself to all kinds of new dangers and threats. And if there's a pandemic running around, you're going to get yourself a disease you weren't planning on because disease is invisible.
Yeah. Another thing, too, from a historical perspective, if you've ever watched the movie John Adams or you've read the book John Adams, you will note that multiple times throughout the course of the book of the story, the family left the city during the summer months, basically to avoid disease. In one case it was smallpox, but in another case it was yellow fever. So, actually, and also Sir Isaac Newton's family removed him during a time of disease, removed him to the countryside, whereupon it is rumored that the apple fell, hit him on the head, and thus came
What goes up must come down.
Yes. Gravity, yay. So, yeah. So, those are some of the things that we think could kick off WROL or without rule of law. But by no means is that an exhaustive list. I think if we were going to be doing a segment on all of the possibilities, oh my goodness, that would be hours.
Yes.
Hours. So we've just tried to stick to the major things today.
What you need to do, what I recommend, is that you cover the spread. You say, what can I do that would cover the most scenarios out there? I'll see some people get very wrapped up in a very narrow scenario. They're like, okay, if the nuclear power plant down the road blows up and it takes the other power grid down with it, then we'll do this. And they don't cover down, so they're looking in this direction. They're micro-focused on this one event happening, and then a hurricane comes along and they're totally off guard. Everything they have, all their preps are aimed at preparing for that nuclear meltdown from the power plant, and they don't have even a generator with fuel in it to run the lights and keep their food from going bad in the refrigerator when the grid goes down.
Yeah. So stay focused and stay in a sphere where the choices that you make are going to give you positive options in a myriad of contingencies. And that's everything from when you go to the store, if there's a sale on a certain canned food item that you buy, then get a couple extra cans. All the way up to if it's time for you to get a new car, make sure that you get a new car that is good on gas mileage, that gives you lots of options for traversing terrain, that is inhospitable, and for carrying the appropriate amount of stuff and or children in your car.
Yeah, sports car is not necessarily a good buy during all of this, nor necessarily would an awesome Studley ultra high-rise, four-wheel drive, gorilla-crushing vehicle, even though that would be totally awesome to have if you've got a family.
You mean I can't have a monster truck justified as my bug-out vehicle? Man.
I know, and my little truck out there may get great gas mileage, but if I got more than just me and another person to carry around in it, it's going to be somewhat somewhat not feasible to use.
Yeah. So that's what we've tried to address today. We've tried to address what are the most likely scenarios to kick off WROL. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being here, Main Prepper. And
hey, thank you for dropping by.
Yeah, for sure. If you enjoyed the video today, guys, please subscribe to me, Patriot Nurse, and also to Main Prepper. Main Prepper, you've got a radio channel that's going to be coming out soon, correct?
Yes, hopefully by around December, if things go well, I will have a radio channel up and running, and we'll be doing at least a weekly broadcast talking about things that pertain to preppers, things that pertain to homesteading, things that pertain to self-sufficient lifestyles. And by the way, all of the self-sufficient community, the homesteading community, and the prepping community, they have a lot of common ground, so there's no need for us to reinvent the wheel.
True, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and for now, it's Patriot Nurse
and the Main Prepper
signing off.